What is the most NSFW thing that happened at your work? My boss asked me to take a look at a couple drawers in his master bath. We built his house. After I fixed the problem, I started walking out of the bathroom just as his 14-year-old daughter was coming in completely naked, just holding a towel in her hand. She froze in shock. I immediately put my head down, apologized and turned back into the bathroom. When everything was clear, I immediately bolted back to the shop. My boss walked in and asked if everything was okay. I said yes. I later found out he had asked other co-workers if I had told them of a peculiar story. They all said no. This is the first time I bring it up since it happened 3 years ago. Every now and then I see the daughter when she comes with her dad. She says hi, I say hi, and that's it. Good thing you kept your trap shut. Worked for a trucking delivery company one summer. A woman got fired for well, I guess you'd call it nymphomania. She would disappear for 20 minutes pretty often without a good explanation. She got caught having sex at least 4 times that I know of, once with a customer in the bathroom, 3 times with the drivers in their trucks. She was warned in writing to stop having sex while at work. She just couldn't do it. The last time, both she and the truck driver got fired on the spot. 2. All employees. From Human Resources. Subject: helping Emily. Message: dear employees, as you're aware, Acme Logistics has a long history of assisting employees work through and overcome the challenges in their lives. As some of you already know, Emily Carter in customer service is working through a challenge now. To help Emily, all employees are requested to refuse any offers of or favors during working hours or on company premises. Thank you. A while back I worked at a company of about 300 people. One of the guys I worked with was convinced another dude in the department next to us jerked off in the bathroom. So he watches the dude all night until it's like 2:00 AM, night shift, and he finally goes to the bathroom. He followed Jack-offer into the bathroom, stands up on the toilet with his phone and records him. He was jacking off. The guy showed HR the next day and they were both fired. They were both pretty stupid. I think recording someone jerking off in the bathroom is a worse offense than jerking off in the bathroom. Boss bangs receptionist. Wife finds out. Wife says either she goes or I go. Boss pays receptionist $50K to leave so she wouldn't sue for wrongful dismissal. 6 months go by. Boss hires a way hot a receptionist just last month. Now we wait. I managed a retail store. Hired a new kid. And it was just me and him there one afternoon. He asked to go to the back while we were slow to make a call. He was back there about 10 minutes and Stacy came in early for her afternoon shift. Walked to the back room and came out horrified. I went back and caught him on the phone jerking off. Kim kid called the phone SX line and was having a wank at the break table. After I had to fire him, he called me relentlessly begging for his job back. A guy quit and sent a company-wide farewell email detailing all the places he had SX in our office buildings. In pretty graphic detail. The IT department removed it from the servers, but I assume someone saved it somewhere. Removed. Years ago, I was doing a VoIP install for medium-sized bank in rural area. This required extensive after-hours work to avoid disruption to the business. One night, one of the contractors was placing phones on desks and in offices to get them tapped and tested. When he walked into an office where the branch manager was getting railed over her desk by a guy who was not her husband, he hurriedly shut the door. And a few minutes later the guy walked out, followed shortly by the branch manager who pretended that nothing had happened. Guess he was aware that in some financial transactions there is a substantial penalty for early withdrawal. I worked at a gym that would do anything to sign up new members. As part of the outreach promotions, members of the sales team would regularly head out into the city to hand out free one-day passes, with the hope of converting them once they had their details on file. One day a homeless guy comes in with a pass. We couldn't say no and he headed inside to use the showers. Fair enough. The changing rooms were checked hourly. were the showers. And it was during these checks that a member of my team noticed blood trailing into the shower gutter. On checking, the homeless guy had taken his opportunity of a free shower to treat himself to a DIY pedicure, as he sat carving the hard skin off his feet with a razor blade. So at my last job, every year they would throw a mini party for all employees who had been there for 5+ years. This year, they got a cabin in a small mountain town and took everyone for an overnight adventure. Well, of course, part of the adventure was a bit of partying. It's no secret that the CEO is somewhat of a pothead. So no one was surprised when a batch of pot brownies made it to the cabin. But no one ate them. The next day, they all returned to the office and all the leftover food was spread out in the office kitchen so the rest of the company could enjoy some snacks. Well, someone didn't realize that they were special brownies and set them out. One of the designers cut himself quite a large brownie and ate it. The CEO realized what happened and removed the batch from the kitchen. Then went on a search around the office in hopes of stopping whoever had taken the brownie. It was too late. The designer was totally ripped and spent the rest of the day eating snacks and coloring in a coloring book. I used to work in a Cinnabon at a mall. One evening a guy walked up to the front counter, whipped his dick out and started pissing all over a glass display case, smiling like an idiot the entire time. Then tried to deny what he'd done and order a drink. Like most mall food places, the front counter was the front of the store, so this was happening out in the midst of all the mall's foot traffic. Though I should probably let everyone know we weren't in the food court. The guy got arrested. In case you were curious. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking. This was in Colorado Springs about 15 years ago. Edit 2. Yes. Chapel Hills Mall, everyone. If that's illegal then lock me up. Deployed in Afghanistan. I was in the shower when all of a sudden we were being hit by incoming mortars. One of the mortars landed so close and loud that I didn't think twice about grabbing a towel. I ran straight to the nearest bunker and apparently I wasn't the only one that reacted the same way. So here I am with 10 other people completely nude. Everyone was hiding their goods and not even so much as a giggle was heard. Slowly but surely, hands were growing weary. Fear of another mortar attack had subsided. And the laughing started. Eventually, nobody cared that they were being seen in the nude by the opposite sex. Boobs and cocks were all over the place and it was the first time in 8 months since I've seen so much as a side boob. The mental images from that incident had held me over for the duration of the deployment. We got the all clear to exit the bunker and everyone went about their business. Made a lot of close friends that day. Co-worker found the married with kids boss banging one of the cashiers in the safe room. He was late 40s. She was 18. Safe sex is important. I work at one of those hipster co-working spaces which is also the host to an assortment of programmer meetups in town. One evening during a meetup, this guy just finished his presentation and we were transitioning to the next speaker. Shortly after she comes up, some hardcore interracial pornography starts playing on the TV that the Apple TV was connected to. The previous speaker had been using it for his slides or something. And once he sat down his phone was still connected to it, I guess. Not exactly sure how Apple TV works. Apparently his brother sent him a link to a video in text and he clicked it and it just automatically started playing on the TV in front of about 24 people. He promptly stood up and unplugged the TV from the wall and left the room. He came back shortly after apologizing with some shitty like my brother is such a dick. It was hands down the most cringe-worthy moment of my life. As an older brother, it would be a wet dream to embarrass my brother so savagely. My boss brings in her bull mastiff child every day. It is a show dog and not neutered. Its lipstick is constantly out. Nobody really interacts with it or says anything. But she brings it over to each of us every morning and talks about his big penis. How it's always out and at the ready. Laughing like it's cute or impressive. I'm so sick of hearing about dog penises. Someone help. Edit. Lipstick is constantly out. Dogs don't wear. Oh. Oh god. I bet you a $100 she FCKS that dog. Edit. Great, and now my highest comment ever is about a woman fking a dog. Co-worker banging girl from produce in the dairy cooler thinking the shelving would hide the deed. Store manager was not pleased when he got the complaint. Edit. Whoa. So many questions. This appears to be very common. The store I was at was in NW, Indiana, and this was around the year 2000. Dear manager, buy better or opaque shelves. Sincerely. The girl who had been writing sex toys and other stuff off as expenses and used them with her customer was a good one. She unsurprisingly went to work for that customer after she got fired. I work in a photo lab and I've seen child PRN and animal abuse. The good thing is that in order to send in your photos to be printed, you need to enter your first and last name and phone number. Every last one of these people got arrested after my department reported the photos. One of my co-workers often would pull up a dress and flash another girl in the office for fun. One time she decided to do it in the copy room just as the owner of the company walked in. And then she got promoted. Multiple BJs in various stages witness from drive-through payment window. My buddy got his dick sucked in the meat cooler by the floral shop girl. Nice. This girl sucked and FK'd multiple people in the bathroom. She finally got caught and fired. She would put up a maintenance sign up and went to town. Well, she did have a sign. What's the problem? I bet she even left behind the slippery when wet sign when she was done. HR lady grabbing my junk under the table at company picnic. Move her hand and look over and she is doing the same thing to my boss on the other side of her. She may have been slightly intoxicated. We have showers at work, so people riding by bike can refresh themselves. Girl sharing an office with me rode that day too. When she left the shower, she came back with her bag to the room. But she apparently forgot something, like hair conditioner or something like that. She made quick run for it and moment later came back with her bag. Took me a minute to understand what's happening. But before I spoke, door opened and another girl came in. Completely naked. Hands on her hips. Ah. There it is. Dot. Yep. My office mate took the other girl's identical bag with her. And she ended up roaming fully nude around the floor looking on it. Guess who got fired? 2 security guys after being caught, separately, red-handed jerking off to video of her walking around. Early 2000s I was working at a hospital. Every year we would have to get vaccinations and I had just gotten mine done and was walking back to my office and noticed a full decontamination of ambulance personnel and ambulance as well as the helicopter. It seems that in the next county over at a lumber yard a man fell into a vat of cyanide and hit his head. The ambulance picked him up and was coming back to Tallahassee and met the helicopter who brought him the rest of the way in. From what I was told, they took him straight to the morgue so he would not spread the cyanide. He died either from the head wound or the cyanide. They kept the doctors away from him until they suited up, but by that time he was already gone. Another time the window washers were working one day and there was a scream as one of the guys fell to his death. Why the FCK would there be a vat of cyanide in any workplace? Minus evil villain henchman. Girl gave a blowjob handjob to one of the guys in a cooler. Both were employees. She later took her department manager to the spot and showed him where the other guy had come on the ground. I think she was trying to proposition him with the same. I only heard about it a few days after the fact. Neither of the two were fired, though one of them probably would have been if the girl didn't quit. So I'm guessing the department manager got a blowjob too. Secretary got caught having sex with an intern in a room where we kept all the filing cabinets. They had started so fast that the secretary had left one of the shelves open and she held onto it to stabilize herself. The pair got so excited at one point that the intern quite literally pelvic thrusted her so hard that the secretary slammed the shelf closed with her body while her fingers were still in the shelf and broke most of her fingers. The resulting scream is how we all found out. Edit. This is now my top rated comment. God damn it. Grammar edit on thrusted for all you grammar Nazis. There was so much. But I think the one that takes the cake is my manager, who was 30 or so. Was caught by my then boyfriend dry humping a 15-year-old in the office. I work at an automotive dealership. We had a guy using a hydraulic press. And it's out of view of most of the shop. We hear it going. NBD. Then we hear a loud pop. Nothing else, so we just kind of look over and don't see anything. About 10 seconds later he comes out to the main shop, blood pouring out of his face. He forgot to set the lock, so the press just like shot his item at his face. Broke his eye socket and cheekbone. I've worked in emergency rooms ranging from tiny ghetto wards to massive trauma centers. 2 cases come to mind. My first ER was a small 8-bed affair where we could see almost every bed from the nurse's station. This particular night I was working with Nurse Ratchet type. And we had a single patient in the ER. She came to us with 2nd-degree burns on her inner thighs after a candle tipped over and splashed hot wax on her. She arrived with wax still attached, which we carefully removed. She was given some morphine, which made her very happy. And she took a nap. About an hour later, 3 AM. I'm doing some chart entry. And behind me I can hear moaning. I turn around and she is very obviously petting the kitten, as charted by the nurse. I didn't know what to do, so turned back around and stared at the screen for a few minutes. With no warning, Nurse Ratchet yells out, "Knock IT off." Full stop. The woman jumped so hard, she practically hit the ceiling. Before whispering "Sue, close." Couldn't laugh. Nurse Ratchet would have killed me. Professional pisser here. When I was fairly early in my career, 6ish months in, I had 2 girls walk in for nipple piercings. One girl had literally just turned 18. The other woman was her mom. Mom sits in the lobby, and daughter comes back to get cleaned and marked before the piercing. Get set to do the first piercing. And right as I have her breathe out and piss her nipple, she makes the loudest moan. I'm talking like it sounded like she got off hard. From the lobby I hear her mom yell, "Don't ruin her. She just turned 18. Had to do the other piercing while she was breathing heavily and gasping. She definitely got off on it. Most awkward piercing ever." Alright. Not NSFW. But when the FCK else am I going to tell this story? Guy named Gary used to work the night shift at a well-known grocery chain. FCK it. Safeway. Mothefka cooked an entire roast one night. In a pan he took off the shelf. Cut up onions. Potatoes. Everything. Alright. Back to the titty stories. I work for a rather popular retail company. Part of my job involves testing product that gets returned to see if it can be sold with an open item discount. My co-worker plugged speakers into a Blu-ray player and unknown to her was that the volume was maxed out. These aren't your everyday computer speakers. They were the massive kind meant for an elaborate home theater setup. We had the movie Deadpool playing on loop, first mistake, while hot swapping speakers. As she plugged in those speakers, Deadpool belt out Vagina loud enough to sound like a car crash and shake every window. Not a person in the store said a word and every manager pretended it didn't happen. She was so embarrassed and we'll never let her live it down. Walked in on one of the newer employees shooting up in the walk-in freezer. Subway was an interesting place to work. I've got more stories if there's interest. There's interest. Someone at my work, dead serious, tried to convince me to let his dad impregnate me. When I told him no, he cried hysterically and then later asked his dad anyways to have a baby with me. That sounded really bizarre until the last sentence, when everything made perfect sense. I got caught jerking off in the broom closet. Stupid SI brooms. Check the answering machine. Call from co-worker. She but dialed the office answer machine. Apparently in the middle of SX. She comes in and we start ribbing her. "So how is your husband doing? Pretty happy? Oh yeah. He went down to street Louis and saw the ball game last He's on his way home about now. Turns out, she didn't know she butt dialed us during sex. When we tell her about it, she begs us not to tell her husband. She was having sex with his brother. My girlfriend and I closed my mom's furniture store early so we could FCK on a floor model bed. It was a slow day. I don't think anybody noticed. Also, once an elderly gent shuffled up to the front door, whipped out his todger, and started pissing all over the door. I told him to get the FCK out of here, and he just yelled at me, claiming he was a veteran and excused him for needing to pee. I said next time come in the F-King store and I'll let you use the goddamn toilet. He just continued on his dirty angry way.